California and Nevada have been rocked by 945 earthquakes in just the past week. One of them was about 4.5 magnitude in Los Angeles, reportedly felt by 13,000 people reported feeling it at the USGS site, so you can see that tens of thousands more actually felt it. Michael Snyder reports, have you noticed that the state of California has been getting absolutely monkey hammered by earthquakes lately? According to the Southern California Earthquake Data Center, California and Nevada have been hit by a total of 945 earthquakes within the last 7 days. That's a whole lot of shaking. And as you can see from the map, Southern California has been getting pummeled more than anywhere else. Could it be possible that the trillions of gallons of rain that were dumped on the region earlier this month have something to do with all of this? As I've discussed previously, scientists have determined that flooding can put an enormous amount of stress on fault lines, and without a doubt, we have seen an unusual level of activity along California's fault lines in recent days. 13 significant earthquakes, including one measuring magnitude 4.8, shook the state very early on Monday morning in a span of just 25 minutes. Parts of California were hit by more than a dozen earthquakes overnight, with 13 shaking the state during a span of just 25 minutes. Can you imagine? Good morning, Southern California. Did you feel the magnitude 4.8 earthquake about 2 miles northwest of El Centro at 12:36 a.m.? The hashtag Shake Alert system was activated. The United States Geological Survey Shake Alert account posted on X. The good news is that none of the earthquakes were large enough to do much damage, but the magnitude 4.8 quake was keenly felt by some local residents. Although some near the area said they had not felt the tremors, one ex-user wrote, definitely felt much stronger than a 4.8. And another added, earthquake swarms just as I was about to go to bed, strong enough for things to fall and break, sadly, a few broken decorations. When people hear about earthquakes in California, most immediately think of the San Andreas fault system, but it was actually the San Jacinto fault system that caused most of the problems early on Monday. The quakes appear to have been caused by the San Jacinto fault system. Meteorologists have said it's one of the most active faults in Southern California. Overall, the USGS says that there have been 27 significant quakes of the last magnitude, at least magnitude 2.5, that have hit the state within the past 24 hours. That certainly is not anything to freak out about, but it's definitely noteworthy. And all of this activity comes just a few days after a magnitude 4.6 earthquake shook up the wealthy residents of Malibu. The magnitude 4.6 earthquake struck about 8 miles northwest of Malibu on Friday. That's the one that had reported 13,000 remarks to the USGS site. Now, so this was a magnitude 4.6 earthquake struck about 8 miles northwest of Malibu on Friday, according to the United States Geological Survey. The earthquake was reported at 1:47 p.m. The USGS website said it occurred at a geological depth of 13.9 kilometers, or nearly 9 miles down. The USGS is reporting at least a dozen aftershocks, with the largest measuring at a magnitude of 3. We haven't seen this sort of sustained seismic activity in Southern California in a long time. Is something very unusual starting to happen? Well, we saw this type of activity before the Ridgecrest earthquake. You remember? We saw a multitude of earthquake activity, and then the big one hit. Now, so is something very unusual starting to happen, he says. Let's keep a very close eye on the numbers coming from Southern California Earthquake Data Center. If the number of quakes in a week rises above 1,000 and stays there, I would say that there is a cause for alarm. As I wrote about earlier this month, scientists assure us that we are way overdue for the Big One earthquake. When it finally arrives, the ground on the western side of the major fault line could suddenly drop by several feet or more, and because much of that area is just barely above sea level, that could potentially allow the Pacific Ocean to come rushing in. Let's hope that nothing like that happens anytime soon. But right now, the flooding that has recently occurred in the region is putting a tremendous amount of stress on the fault lines. Unfortunately, it can take a long time for extra water to disappear. Just look what happened in Death Valley. Hurricane Hilary dumped so much rain on the area last August that it actually created a lake, and it's still there after all this time. A lake has formed in an area of the U.S. considered one of the driest places on Earth, even months after it was battered by storms. Death Valley National Park, California, holds the record for the hottest temperature ever recorded on July 10, 1913, according to the World Meteorological Organization, at 134 degrees Fahrenheit. However, despite being the driest place in North America, a lake which formed after Hurricane Hilary in August 2023 has yet to fully dry up. Death Valley typically receives about 2 inches of rain a year. However, the official weather gauge at Furnace Creek has measured 4.9 inches in the past 6 months. On August 20th last year, over a year's worth of rain fell in one day, with 2.2 inches being measured. I never would have imagined it would be possible for a lake to exist in Death Valley for 6 months, but we do not live in normal times. Speaking of that, we're being warned that the Gulf Stream is in danger of shutting down in the not too distant future. In the 2004 film, The Day After Tomorrow, humanity is plunged into a nightmarish international storm that sends the planet into a new ice age, and although the blockbuster movie was consigned to the realms of sci-fi, the science behind the frightening scenario is true. In a matter of years, melting glaciers could shut down the Gulf Stream, the system of currents that brings warmth to the northern hemisphere, experts say. Without this additional heat source, average temperatures could drop by several degrees in North America, parts of Asia, and Europe, and people would see severe and cascading consequences around the world. Can you imagine what our world would look like if that actually happened? Much of Europe and North America would no longer be able to grow crops, and global famine would be guaranteed. A lot of people would rather not think about such matters. Just because things have been a certain way in the past does not mean that they will continue to be that way in the future. We really are on the verge of apocalyptic times, and global events will soon turn all of our lives completely upside down. Sadly, most of the population is not paying much attention to what's happening, and for the moment, ignorance is bliss, Michael Snyder reports on End of the American Dream. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael Snyder, extremely controversial new book entitled Chaos, available on paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 7 other books that are available on Amazon, including End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work that he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, Most Important News, and he always freely and happily allows others to republish his articles on their own websites. You can connect with Michael on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and sharing his articles on your own social media accounts is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times that people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.